What's going on, y'all? Of course, it's your boy, J.H. Gibbons here.
As we'll see.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Achromous Podcast. This is episode 15, man. Wow. 15 episodes in, we're still growing. This is exciting. Man, looking back on where we started from to where we are now and the type of growth we're experiencing, it's amazing, honestly. So, got to thank everybody out there who's been subscribing, who's been following us. If you haven't, please do. Achromous. You type that in anywhere, you will find us. So, there is no excuse to follow some of the best inspirational stories about habit building and productivity enhancement and all sorts of great things that you can learn from these guys who represent Achromous.
Absolutely. I couldn't put it any better myself, Jay. Um, as always, we like to kind of give a little recap on how's the week been, what's been going on. As always, I know it's productively busy. That's how it was for myself. A long one, but good. A lot of love, lessons, and experience gained along the way. So I have no complaints. I'm happy to
Sure.
be here. I'm happy to be a part of another episode of Giving Nothing But Goodness is what we do. Peace, love, prosperity, joy, sincerity, as always, guys. So I'm ready to kick this thing off. But Jay, how has your week been?
Man, it's been wild, man. I actually I got my shot Friday. And my arm is still pretty sore. It's the Moderna one, not Johnson & Johnson. And it was it's been pretty sore. It's getting a little better.
Mm,
Um it's getting a little better, but I think what they say is that typically during the second one that you get, that's where a lot of things start happening. At least that's what some people have said, where they get the chills, they get fever, and they start feeling all wonky and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that second one. I made sure to schedule on a Friday, so Saturday and Sunday, if I'm just completely out of it, I can be out of it in my bed.
Lucky you. I mean, I get mine on the 5th, my second one on the 5th. So I'll be sure to let you know how that goes. I got it in the afternoon though. So
And it's
I got late
Moderna.
afternoon. So that way if it does affect me, I'm gonna wrap up from work a little earlier just so I can, if need be, see how it holds up at least
Yeah.
Thursday,
Is it the
Friday.
Moderna one too?
I'll let you know.
Is it Moderna?
No. I had the
Oh, you got Pfizer.
Pfizer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, I think I was telling you about it. The main thing that happened to me, my arm was sore. It was really hot. I did eventually, like, this first and second day, I was okay. First, I guess I got it. I was okay just with that.
Mm-hmm.
Next day, I was just tired a bit, and then the day after that, I felt like I was getting something.
Oh.
I felt like from like a Friday into a Saturday, I didn't feel too great, which was weird because I was like, dang, this is the first shot. All right. So I got to look forward to. So but after that, I just felt fatigued for a long time. I'm just now really kind of really feeling like I'm getting my energy back, which is weird. But we'll see heading into this upcoming week with this next shot. So
Yeah. Yeah, good luck, man. Hey, I wish you all the best. Let me know how
thank
it
you.
feels, man. I know you you might be out for the count for a while. But we'll keep it going as much as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, and even some of the weeks, months, years prior to where we are now, has been a lot of craziness. As you know, last week we talked about what we're gonna get into this week. And this is a pretty touchy subject, not just for people in our community, but people outside of it. There was a warning before this even came about that it's gonna get really honest in terms of some of the advice that we give. But I want to repeat that we're giving this out of love. We're giving this out of the need to growth, the need for growth rather in our community. And I think it's about time that people get this out there, because I think it's something that we've heard about. It's something that a quick Google search can pop up. Some search results that you may agree or disagree with, but it is important that the conversation is had, because there is growth needed in our community. So, hey, without further ado, man, let's dive into it.
Mhm.
Being black in America, there's so many ways, there's so many different directions we can take with that. But for you, Will, um what type of hardships have you had? Was there a personal experience, whether recently or in the past, that sticks out to you to say, man, why is this happening to me? Right? Why is this setup happening to me? Why are these things happening to me and I pose absolutely no threat? And and I will get further into different things in terms of perception and what certain issues are in our community, but I think initially we need to establish what experiences we've had, because there are people out there who have the same color that we do that may not have experienced those things, or there may be people who have. And of course, there are people who are outside of our race that can't necessarily understand what we go through because they just don't share that same color. So yeah, I want to turn it over to you, man. Were there any hardships that you've had, or is there one specific personal experience that you could share, to put that out there?
Um, Thanks, Jay. Um, unfortunately, yeah, I do have multiple instances of what we encounter being black in America. Um, we were talking about it not too long ago, where I was giving you an instance actually, and I'll talk on that. What literally happened, very recent, where um, I happened to be leaving out without my house to make an errand.
Mm,
Um, Initially, I intended to take my daughter out like I usually do, but then there was a wind advisory, so we were like, I didn't want to take her out there with me, so I said, you know what? I told her, all right, baby, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go do this really quick, and I'll be back really fast. Really was what I told her. Um, I go out. I have some shorts on. It's important that I describe what I have on throughout this process and how everything transpired. So I had some shorts. Um, I had a hoodie. I had a beanie.
mm,
Um, and mind you, again, it's a wind and rise 3, so it's a bit gusty out. I'm running out really quick just to go to the bank. It's typical task that all of us have to do at some point in time, right? So I get over to the area, the shopping center,
mhm,
and I go in to the shopping center, and there was as I was telling you, Jay, there was this car that was like in front of me, and he cut over like two other cars. There's this there's this car, you know, right there. This watching it happen. So I'm thinking he's gonna go after this guy the way he did, because he just zoomed around and there was people walking across the intersection. He just kind of like disregarded them too, but he didn't. So the two cars ahead of me, they go ahead and they keep going. Um, and I got my music going a little bit, but in this case, my music is a bit up, honestly, but I'm listening to nothing but good vibes, like R&B, like good music that it's more soothing, nothing crazy. And I know I'm not the only one, so I'm just going and just going along, and then I notice he pulled right behind me. So I say, okay, cool, no problem, because run my tags, whatnot. I mean, it's protocol for, I guess, those things to be done at times, especially in all honesty and fairness, given this that particular shopping center, there has been instances of things that has happened. So I understand the necessity of having police there at different times and whatnot. And I'm totally for it.
mm,
Um, so I go and I go park, and like he goes around. I see him go around, like, but there's another part you can go and turn around. You know how the shopping center over there, and ask me how it looks. So
right,
I get out. I go to run into the bank because I'm trying to beat the time before 5 o'clock before they close the door. I
right.
get over there at 5:01. Naturally, I'm inside, but they closed it. So I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna argue with you. Cool, no problem, dude. I used to work in bank. I know how that is. So I got you. I just go to the ATM.
Mhm,
Mind you, as I get out of the car, my pockets is, I have some shorts on. So I got my wallet, it's pretty thick. Got my phone,
mm,
pretty big.
mm,
In both pockets, and I'm running across. I have my hoodie on, have a
mm,
hat on. I mean my beanie, and I'm going in. So you know, maybe it looks a certain kind of way.
mm.
That's all I can say.
So did you feel as though you looked some type of way even before this interaction? Like did it cross your mind that maybe I shouldn't wear a hoodie to the bank or outside, even though it was windy, even though there was, a hoodie is just a piece of clothing. But did it ever occur to you that maybe you shouldn't wear that because of how you may be perceived?
In several instances prior, there are occasions where you do consider that, where you
Mm,
have to assess that from where you're going, engaging, the activities you're going to find yourself in the environment of where you'll be. In this instance, no, I didn't think of that because I literally needed to make a quick errand and get that done to get back to my kids.
mm,
I so in that instance of me going in, like I said before, you could look at it as like, okay, I mean, I I don't know. I don't know. I just, I know this location, maybe, they've been robbed before. Uh, it's possible. I feel like they have. And then I think about it because I used to go help out at that location.
mm,
Um, and I just happened to come out. But by the time I came out, it was weird. By the time I came out, the officer was like, he was there. But it
mm.
was weird because like he was just like he asked me, he's just like, you know, hey, how's it going? Everything's okay. I say, yeah, there's a wind gust outside. I'm trying to do what I need to do and get
Get
going.
back. Yeah.
Mind you, I'm in sequence of moving because you come out and an ATM's on the side. So he's
Mhm.
standing in an angle and there's other people walking by, but it was just weird, because as soon as I come out the doors, like you speak to me.
Mm.
I'm all for formalities and common courtesy and whatnot. But under the
Right.
circumstances, it's a wind advisory outside. Why are we conversating right now?
Are we chopping it up right now?
Yeah. So I'm like, so I go. So he walks off. I
Mm,
go to ATM, and at this point, my brain's processing. I'm thinking. I'm trying to watch where my environment. I'm trying to watch what's going on. I'm like, that's really weird. That just happened. I don't understand why that just happened. But okay, let me keep going. By the time I got back and I went to my car, he was already in his car, but his angle, um, like my car is straight here. His car is we park this way. His
mm,
car is turning the angle where my
mm.
car is. The trajectory of it is you can see me.
Yeah.
So at this point, I get in, and now I'm like, okay, this is the pivotal moment of what it's like to be black in America. Because
Mm,
at that moment, I'm my thoughts are everywhere. It's firing off. Okay, what do I need to do, and how do I need to proceed with this process to prevent any more engagement of any
mm.
kind? Like
Wow.
at this point, I don't care anymore about the common courtesy or whatever that was.
Right.
I just need to not have it be an interaction because just for the sake of avoiding any sort of conflict, I'm not going to get out of character. That's not me. I'm
Mm.
not going to be any other kind of way and be subjective to not adhering to what's being asked. But in that moment, that's where my mind is. Okay, what's next? I just want to get back home to my kids.
So do you think that police interactions with black people in America, do you from some of the ones that we see, do you think that a lot of those instances, that particular type of violent interaction could have been avoided, or do you think it was just inevitable?
And to be completely fair, I think it just depends on the interaction, the engagement, and the circumstances of it. Like
Mm,
each one is different. There are cases where it's justified.
right.
You have to understand it from their perspective as well, which I get. Where you're trained a certain kind of way that you have to be cautious and you have to be alert at all times. So it's not for them to have to sit there and to be, benign through a process of not only interrogating, but more of like of the interaction of engaging someone to kind of assess what
Mhm.
can happen because it's an unknown. So
Right.
they have to be as trained as possible for that. So I get that. But at the same time, um, there are instances where you have to not forget that we are people at the end of the day. So
Definitely.
besides a title, like
Mhm.
just for what my job title is, it
Right.
doesn't give me the right to you personally um allow that to dictate my actions.
Mhm.
So in those instances, because of the career choices of some of these individuals, officers, and I say it in a way where, look, I've had great encounters. I've had great conversation. I know people. I have people in my family who are in law enforcement.
Mhm.
Like So I understand it and I respect it for what it is.
Right.
But I have had encounters where they were not so great, where I've had a gun pulled on me,
Mm,
where I've had hands put on me,
mm,
and I'm not the type of person to invoke that sort of action. So when you go through those things, and if you don't have the mental capacity to stay
mm,
calm and stay leveled in that moment of any kind,
mm.
what happened yesterday with me could have escalated more. It could have, if I could have said something out of character,
Yep.
because who knows what I'm going through in my personal life. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of those instances, those are things that are happening. People are going
Yeah.
through life,
And I think it's on both.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's on both ends too, you know.
Yeah,
As you said, cops are people, right? They have
yeah,
to go home at the end of the day. I mean, every single day, their goal, one of their main goals is to make it home to their family as it is for us. So I think that is important to keep in mind when we have these interactions. And there are some instances where you just got to take the temperature in the room and say, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't go this route. Maybe I should remain more calm. I think there are certain instances where we all know what our rights are, and we're entitled to those rights, of course. But again, it's you gotta understand a particular situation that you may be in, that could blow up into something that doesn't need to get to that stage. Um, I mean, in terms of a personal story for me, there was a time where I was hanging out with a couple friends. We got some pizza, went into a parking lot out in Wheaton Regional Park actually, and I think this was after they were closed, so there was nobody there. It was just us in the parking lot, and just chilling, hanging out, catching up, whatever. And we were actually on our way to see you guys. And as we left the park, there is a comp that pulled up behind us right when we were on the main street heading your way. And I mean, we were about 15 minutes out. So I knew that they were following us about 15 minutes out. I could see them in the rear view. I think I was telling the people in the car, I'm like, I think they're following us. It was a couple, and there were a couple cars behind, but the movements just seemed out of place. It seemed weird. It seemed like, okay, yeah, they're probably getting ready to pull us over. And then on top of that, I guess they were calling for backup even before they pulled us over, for whatever reason. So long story short, we get pulled over. There ends up being about four of them that, I mean, they come out of nowhere, honestly. And I'm sitting there, I'm calm. There's nothing for me to hide, nothing for anybody else in the car to hide. So I'm relaxed. And because I've been through this before, I just keep an even keel temperament. Um, the interaction goes well. I'm cooperative. They're cooperative. They're upfront with what they're looking for. They do search my car. When it came to that though, I could have taken it a different direction. Because I could have just said no, I don't, I prefer if you don't, right? And then they're like, all right, well, we're gonna bring the dogs. We're gonna do this. So again, it's feeling out the situation. So again, nothing to hide, nothing that I feel as though should be something that would warrant them to take action that scares everybody.
yeah,
So they searched, they found nothing, of course. And then coming down to the end of it, when we're all just kind of standing around, one of the officers and I were just chopping it up. I think he mentioned something about Penn State. Then he mentioned something about the Sandusky thing. I don't want to get into that, but I was like, no, I wasn't there when it happened. So it was just casual conversation, and he even admitted, um, he was like, "Oh, that area is known for drugs,
mhm,
and we thought that you were selling drugs." And I said, why would you think that?"
yeah,
And then he just repeated the same thing he said. It's like, well, it's known for selling drugs. So, um, I think the same thing where you mentioned with your hoodie and your pockets being full and you running, and then me driving a black Mercedes Benz with tints, and then the somehow the relationship with that and drugs. It's just sometimes it's crazy, and I think that people who are friends or who watch this podcast who aren't of our same race would say, "Man, that's wild. That doesn't make any sense. Why is that happening to you?" We have the same question. Believe me,
Yeah,
we questioned it the same. We questioned it the same way. All those times that you
absolutely.
see these interactions that are now being caught on tape, because remember, there are times where it wasn't, and we never got the full story because it wasn't being caught on film. So now that it is, you're starting to see these interactions, and you're sitting there, you're like, well, God, they must have been doing something wrong, right? They must maybe they ran a light, maybe they're a criminal, maybe they have a criminal history. Let's dig something up about that. But in that particular instance, it's crazy how things can go from 0 to 100 immediately. So yeah, I mean those interactions I think would stick with me for a while. There were others, but it wasn't as deep as this one. Like this one, I was like, wow, that's insane how you can how you can make such an assumption for just eating pizza in a parking lot. It really does get crazy. But to that point though, I do want to tackle the concept of perception. I know in some of the earlier podcasts that we had, we talk about perception. We talk about, putting our best foot forward, putting our best out there into the universe, and continuing to do that. But perception in this society is reality. It's not that it should be, but it is. And when people perceive you to be some type of threat through whatever medium they've been able to try to understand your community or your group, they're going to run with that perception. Perfect example. I was driving through, this is back when I was in college, and we were going through Pennsylvania, and it was rural, man. I mean, there's no one around, no places around, no shopping centers. It was not the city. So we had to stop for gas. I'm a passenger, and I think everybody else that was in the car with us. We went into the gas station, just got some food, got some snacks for the road, and as we were coming out, me being the only full black person there, I mean, some random guy. I didn't even see him when he came out, or when I came out, rather, and was going back to the car. But as I'm walking, he says, "Hey, look, it's a nigger." And I froze because I did not number one, I didn't expect that to be said. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting myself to hear it. Then I turn around, and there's this white guy, and he seems to be drunk, or he was on something. He wasn't in the right state of mind. And then he said, "I apologize for calling you that. We just don't see Negroes around here." And when he said that, well, again, this goes back to understanding where you are, feeling out the temperature of the situation, because that could have gone south in so many different ways. Number one, I'm just coming back from Bible study, and I've got three other people with me, and then there's a car full of women as well that came back from Bible study. I don't want any harm coming to them or the people I'm with, or myself, or the people that we're interacting with. So that was number one. Number two, coming back from Bible study, I'm in a much better state of mind than I would be if I was coming back from a UFC event, or something that would have gotten my adrenaline pumped, where I probably would have handled that poorly, and quite frankly, I probably wouldn't have been here today. Um, so at the time when I was speaking to him, and some of the things he mentioned about where he lived, and him having a farmland and all this other crap, I thought to myself, I'm like, well, this guy he must not have many interactions with black people. Him saying that he doesn't see a lot of Negroes around, to me, that means that he does not know how to interact with a black person. Whatever he has been taught, whether it's been in school or by his family or by the media, it has literally corrupted his perception of us. So I then had to sit back and I say, well, what sort of things are we putting out there in order for us to be perceived this way? What are people seeing? Right? What are they seeing when they turn on the TV, or they're walking outside, or whatever? What sort of interactions are they having with a black person? So then I started thinking about it, and my thought was that what he's probably seen, as most black and white and whoever, whatever race you're part of, whatever community you're part of, they see the same things that everyone sees. right? If you go to World Star Hip Hop right now, and this is not me cracking on their website or anything, there are certain videos that you see. There's certain videos that go viral. There's certain videos that a lot of people watch. Those type of videos get pushed to the top of the feed so that everybody can watch them because they're getting a lot of traffic. I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about what we put out in our hip hop community, in terms of promoting violence, in terms of promoting women as property, more than just women. Those sort of things that we put out there gives them fire. It allows them to feed off of that so that they can sit up there and say, see, look, they're a threat. Look, they're walking around with guns. They don't know how to treat women. You know, the whole baby daddy thing and all these other things. They're literally seeing this and they're perceiving us to be exactly what we're showing them, right? It's very rare in the Asian community, for example, for them to be seen like that. Some of the stereotypes that you have with Asian people is that, oh, they're really smart, they're really good at math, they're really hardworking. Those are great stereotypes to have, right? Um, but then when it comes to our community, some of the stereotypes are lazy. We all we do is rob and steal. We're not smart. We do drugs. All of those bad stereotypes, those bad connotations with us, and I'm sure other communities, including the Asian community, all those other communities do have bad ones, but ours seems to be so terrible. Um, so I mean, it's just this concept of the perception that people have of us, of myself. I mean, there are instances we'll see where you were out and you know, an interaction that you had with somebody from another community was that you know, their response to how you may have handled the situation or how you spoke was that, oh, there's not many out there like you. You're not like the others. You're different. And I've gotten the same thing. And it's for me, it's sad, right? It's not something I sit up there with pride because I want more black people to be known in that realm. I don't want us to continue to be perceived as threats. I don't want us to continue to be perceived as people who are dumb or all we know how to do is rob and steal or all of these other things that we continuously put out there. We can't then go ahead and preach against it because the mass media pushes that about us. So it's you know, and I do want to get your take on the perception of black people because I know you came from a rough area when you were growing up and you've seen some things that I know have scarred you. So you have that experience. I was born in DC. Luckily, I've had certain experiences, but they weren't as bad as the ones that you have had. So I don't want to put out there that I'm you know I'm some guy that I'm not or anything, but I do want to get your take on the perception of black people in America from other communities.
Okay, Jay. Um, you know, in truth, through all my years and experiences and encounters, I've come to the realization that I can really focus in more so on all the other communities that's out there about it, but my focus is on the perspective of our community inward,
Mm,
right? Because what is perceived, as you mentioned a moment ago, which is true, where I get often, you're not like you're different, or it's there's a story behind if someone is mentioned that's black, where it's like there's a good story of like, oh, this person, yeah, they work really hard and they're really nice, and
mm,
it's a description of someone before it's reference to them being black,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
then that's brought into the equation,
It's like,
and it's
oh,
like, yeah,
here's
he or
somebody.
she is different. Yeah, one of the the good ones, the
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
not saying in that way, but yeah, you know the pre notion of what's being said, and I have gotten a lot of, you're not like others, and it's like, look, I would love for us to get to a point as a whole in society where we take away the fact of having to describe someone based on their ethnic.
Mm,
I'm Will. Nice to meet you for me being me.
mm,
Nice to meet you for you being you.
right.
So when I'm describing someone, it shouldn't have to be based upon of like religion or anything of that nature. It's their personality, it's their
Right.
traits of who they are as an individual. And this is, I feel like, in our community where we need to get to, because we do it to our own selves.
Mm.
Everyone do, everyone does it.
Yep.
And yes, of course, there's a ton of implicit bias throughout other communities, but we have it here too.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, even from the perspective of something's done with to the community of how
Hmm.
it's looked at, as opposed to if it's someone inward in the community of the same
Mm.
race.
Oh boy.
Same, you get what I'm saying? Like, there's a different approach to it and how it's
Yeah.
handled. And it's like,
Yep.
look, accountability has to start with the individual.
Hmm.
So it's going to take for every single one of us to do the work that needs to be done so that we can adjust our perspective of what we consider to be a successful Black person
Hmm.
in life, because the bar that's being set, from what I'm seeing from someone who's of success that was within the Black community, is more, generated towards the genre of what we see in social media and the hip hop. Like you said, right? I don't want to slander hip hop, but like,
No, no, that wasn't my
there's
intention.
a no, I know that. Yeah, so we just we're not slandering hip hop, but
Right.
there is a bad stigma with hip hop as a
Absolutely.
whole, or like any sort of thing like that, where either you are an athlete to make it to be successful in your own right,
Yep.
you are in the music industry to be successful in your own right,
Hmm.
and those are your avenues.
Hmm.
And then if you are someone of success, you must have come from an wholesome background where you grew up in an urban community, or you
Hmm.
grew up somewhere of, where you had opportunities and you didn't come from a certain way of life, right? Where I speak on it in that way because everyone who meets me now, or have known of me, I've interacted with, there is this perception that I grew up a certain kind of way.
Mm.
It's just like that, simply because of how I conduct myself as a person.
Right.
And albeit, okay, great, I am who I am. I am an awesome person to get to know. I personally think that, and yeah, like, I am pretty well educated in my
Hmm.
own right, because I take the time to educate myself. No, I haven't graduated from a college of 4 years or whatnot. I've done online courses and whatnot, no different than a lot of other people. But my background, yes, it grew up. It wasn't easy, being parts of where I grew up, predominantly in DC,
Hmm.
where there is this notion that, you know, if you're there, you're in the crab pot and there is no way out, outside of that. And it really, to me, is just based on your perspective of how you adjust to your environment, and to realize that you are just in a pond, and there's rivers and there's oceans out there that's so much more vast and more to see and learn and experience, but you have to do the work on yourself. So for me, I think the work really goes back to our community individually, and we really take the time to work on, how do we break cycles?
Mm.
How do we get here? How do we get from the era where we were, from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, to
Mm.
what was being built, into what we saw that was economically
Mm.
divvied in a way where it did hinder our growth as a community, and it
Right.
started allowing us to have focus on things that does not matter,
Mhm.
right? Where we're going to get into certain things about habit building and how to educate yourself, which I'm sure some have already heard of this, and if you haven't, we have a few suggestions of what we do, what we've learned along the way, to kind of help with that. And I say that again, coming from where I grew up,
Right.
and understanding that there was more to than what I saw in my environment, and that, yeah, while it wasn't the safest in a lot of places, that's everywhere.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So what's the difference between where I am and somewhere else that's not, you know, as considered safe,
Right.
but because I happen to be of a darker complexion, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, you're judged as a whole, judged as a whole, as a mass. So yes,
Right.
as you mentioned earlier, between the different communities, like the Asian communities, or what's being said about what are good qualities, when it comes to us, it's divided. It's
Yeah.
not a whole.
Mhm.
It's a division of it, where we are a lot of the times considered to be aggressive in
Mm.
a way where we are hostile to and unapproachable,
Hmm.
which is the way of what I get a lot. When I've had conversations in depth with people where if there's been enough trust to understand, I tell them, look, this is an open floor. Let's have that
Right.
conversation. We
Right.
need to have that
We do.
conversation. I need to understand why you process the way you process and get
Mhm.
to the core of where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of it is coming from just a lack of not understanding, a lack of, doing the work to get to know someone, and simply because they don't know anyone to discuss
Mhm.
these things with comfortably without feeling like they'll be attacked.
Yeah.
So, that's what I've learned, and I've had conversations with others, and being in an environment where I was in an interracial relationship for a very long time, and learning another community of people, and then in between that, learning, building a diversity of friends from different ethnics and backgrounds.
Hmm.
Like, I have a more understanding of like why people process things the way they do, and really is misinterpretation, is lack of understanding because of not knowing how to ask the questions that they like to know, because a lot of the
Hmm.
times, a lot of people that you see out here the way they are because they're too afraid to ask the questions.
Yeah.
They're just too afraid, and
Mm.
what happens is they just grow in that, and it's like, guys, it's better to not say anything than to say
Right.
something, because we are too afraid of what the backlash could be for that. And
Right.
no, we need to talk more about these things. We need to help each other grow, because we have to make it better for this generation and the next, because we
Yeah.
can't continue to go on like this. We are too advanced in society to be the way we are right now
Yep.
as a people. It's stupid.
Yep.
I'm sorry to be blank, but it's dumb. It makes no sense at this
It
point.
is. It is.
We haven't grown beyond like,
Yo, I mean, there are people who have fought for years, decades. I mean, look, some of our ancestors were slaves here, right? And then even before that, we were taken from our land way, way, way back, way, way, way back, right? So all of these things that our community now has had to face, because of what has happened in the past, I think that also is something that keeps us back. I think we sit up here and we believe that we are owed something. And though there is a great argument to be had, whether it's reparations, whatever it may be, I think that we owe it to ourselves to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there now. I think sitting back and believing that if we continue to put ourselves in this sort of victimhood, this sort of victim mentality, where it's all somebody else's fault. I'm not accountable for anything that goes on. Yeah, we have a lot of crime in our neighborhood. Yeah, we have a lot of shootings. Yeah, some child just died the other day, or continues, or that sort of violence continues. Um, it's like it's not our fault that we're here. We don't have the opportunities. We don't have the ability for economic growth. We don't know any better. But I think now that gap is closed, so much more closed than it was in the 40s, 50s. Because of, I mean, the internet. Let's be honest. I can Google anything now and learn something instantly. Whereas in the past, you can make a case that, because of segregation or because of how terrible some of the schools were, you literally could not learn what other people had the ability or opportunity to learn. That was their advantage that they held above us. But now that that playing field is somewhat level, it's not 100% level, because we do still have those school issues in some inner cities. But the opportunity to learn more is there, right? Because the internet, if you have Wi-Fi, if you have a connection, if you have a phone, you are able to see these things. You are able to do research on your own. You're able to come up in the world on your own. I mean, there's stocks that are now out available for everyone. There's crypto that is open to everyone. I'm not pushing crypto, but I'm saying this is now something where the barrier of entry is so small. I can create an account today and be on tomorrow. I can be investing tomorrow. And as I'm investing, I'm learning more about it so that I can come up. Right. And I think we need to start taking advantage of it. And in my inner circle of friends, they have. I would say that for sure. In our community, there are a lot more people who are talking about stocks or talking about investing or giving back to their community, and that's great. We need to continue to push that to the top, rather than this same perception that we are animals, or that we are we are we're aggressive, or that we're just always angry, or we're all of these different stereotypes and preconceived notions that other communities have of us, and that sort of thing that we continue to push out. um I think it's important that that must change. I think the other thing too, when it comes to financials, whether it's a lack of financial acumen, which is kind of what I just went through, because all of this is so easily accessible, there is no excuse to not know about it. You can invest time in it, right? Get off of TikTok, get off of Instagram, get off of Facebook. Hell, don't even watch our podcast this Sunday. If you can take time out of your day to do a little bit of research, to get an understanding on how to build your credit, how to create a savings account and put money in there for your family, how to invest in stocks, mutual funds, whatever it is for you to come up for your own self, and to be able to put a better perception out there for our community. It helps everybody out, because there are people out there that are still trying to push those good aspects of us out there. And sometimes it's a struggle because of the things that we end up seeing that push us back, right? Those who have a massive following, those who have a lot of power in our community, we need to continue to push the best part of us out there, so that that perception changes, and that perception changes with us. We can't we can't be upset with somebody else who may be ignorant to our culture or our community or our situation, to hear us out while they're seeing something else, right? Their eyes are seeing something that their mind is not able to adjust to or perceive. So I think I think that those are some very important aspects of things that are still kind of plaguing our community, and ways that we can go about changing it. I mean, it's also something like urban terrorism, which is something I you kind of spoke on there, within our communities, where some of these places, they get a bad rep, right? So if I'll give you an example, especially if you're in real estate, or you're trying to start a business. You are more likely to build a Whole Foods in an area where you can flourish, because the area has a lot of money, or the community is safer, than you would in a community like Southeast DC, for example, or the South Side of Chicago, or an area that has the perception of being extremely rough. That hurts businesses, right? I mean, it hurts our community, because those same things that you're talking about not having, you cannot receive if that perception is out there that there's going to be no growth here, right? Why would I invest in a business? Why would I build my business in a community if I'm always going to be under the impression that I might get robbed one day, or my business is going to suffer because people who live here can't afford what I'm offering, or I wouldn't be able to allow my community to flourish, because of those things. And it's the same reason why there are drive-through liquor stores in these areas, right? They're heavy on McDonald's, they're heavy on Burger King, they're heavy on all these fast food restaurants, all these things that are bad for us, both health wise or financially. It The reason why it's there is because they know that that is what we go for. They know that they can make a lot of money on us, because they believe that they're in this area, that's all that we can afford. And I mean, in some cases, it makes it true to them, because those businesses are still flourishing where they are, right? Those drive-through liquor stores are still getting numbers, right? All of those areas are still they're still flourishing, because they are feeding off of the stereotypes that we have as Black people. And you wouldn't see these in a Potomac, or in a much higher class neighborhood than you would there. So again, it goes back to the perception of our community. It goes back to what we can do to build ourselves up, because that gap of knowledge it's now almost non-existent. We've seen people in our community come up, and not just from sports, but just in general. I have friends who are doctors right now. You know what I'm saying? I have friends who've started companies and are flourishing, and they all have the same skin color. So what I'm trying to say is that it's possible, but you have to put the work in. You have to work on yourself. You have to change the perception of us through your actions. That's the only way that we can go forward. That's the only way that we can move forward. And of course, at Achromous, we are definitely solution based, right? Will we want to make sure that we're not just throwing crap out here and not giving our audience something to look at or to work on, that has worked for other people in order to come out and level up from these places that they're in. So on one end, I think that the healthier consumption, of both media, food, money, all of those things, building a habit through that, I think would be beneficial for our community. I think if we can sit down with our families, create a budget, you know what I'm saying? It's something as easy as that. Create a monthly budget for spending. Look at what you're spending. Look at what you're making versus what you're spending. Are you spending as much as you're making? Are you blowing your paychecks on frivolous things or materialistic things that aren't gonna somehow elevate you? Are you spending in some places and not saving the others? Do you have a savings account? Do you have some type of way to allow your money to build money? Are you in stocks? Are you into any of that? And you don't necessarily have to be into that. But what I want to say is that we have to start building better habits in order to help out our consumption issues that we may have. Um, and we've harked on this already throughout this podcast, but changing the perception of our community. We want to force the mass media to cover the best of us, right? We want to force the mass media to cover, a person who has made it, coming back to the community and giving back to the community. Those are the things that we want to be front page, right? We don't want the talk to be about violence. We don't want the talk to be, about our aggression, or about how we're looked at as thugs, or whatever it may be. I think as long as that perception changes, people start looking at you differently. You'll be trusted more in some communities. You'll be accepted more in some communities. But it does come down to the perception that other communities have of us. Self education, mentioned it already. Pick up your phone instead of going through TikTok today. Instead of, you know what I'm saying, like going on YouTube and looking at things that aren't going to level you up, that aren't going to build up your mindset. Just spend 10, 15, 20 minutes a day reading something informative, right? Download an app that has to do with news around the world. Understand what's going on around the world, understand what's going on around you. Learn a new skill, right? I mean, this COVID thing from last year that's kind of bled over into this year now. A lot of people have had the opportunities to work from home. Some people unfortunately lost their job, but in those times, that would be a perfect time to build a skill that you've always wanted to build for a long time. That way you're making yourself more marketable. A lot more people will give you a better opportunity because you've now leveled up, right? So all of those things are important. And of course, and I will see you mention it before, accountability. You have to be accountable for your own actions. You have to hold yourself accountable, for all the other things that are going on around you. And it's absolutely vital that you build these habits within yourself, so that those who are in our community, or those who are excited outside it, have a better perception of us. So at the end of the day, that's the only way that we are going to be able to get out of this crazy cycle of being a a minority group that has so much power, but for some reason is not able to click and get us to that next level. We have so much power in this country, and you're seeing it now. You're seeing the type of waves we can push. You're seeing the type of power that we have as a community, but we have to be able to harness that power and use that power for great things, because I know that we can do great things. I know that we could, as a community, be looked at as a community that shows growth through some of the toughest times that we've had to face, because we've had a tough time here. But it is up to us now to be able to push through our past, leave that where it is, and look to the bright future that we have. That's all I have
Uh,
to say.
that's awesome, Jay. Sorry to interject in that
Yeah.
regard. I just wanted to add just one thing to that, where as it relates to, ensuring that you're building those personal values for yourself,
Mhm.
right? Where you ask yourself, okay, Chrome's family, So you're giving us this information in that regard, but how are you contributing to that process, right? And in a lot of ways, the content what we deliver is our method of how we are contributing, and future ventures that we are in the process of working through to deliver more content to you that's going to be more impactful, such as the 21-3 method. This will definitely help to allow you to discipline yourself, to hold accountability, to get you to where you would love to go, or to start creating those healthy habits or successful tools, and to apply it to your everyday life. We say that because this is what we're living that too. Yeah. This is not something that we're just putting on pure speculation. No, this is truly something that we've embedded into ourselves as a lifestyle to kind of help mold us in different areas. Yep. To build techniques and traits in areas that I know for myself personally I didn't have prior to this formulating itself, where it is a helpful tool, and we are working diligently to get that to what it needs to be, so when it's time we can deliver that content to you and to help with this process for all communities, but for our people too. So we just want to make sure that we put that out there, so that that we're not just discussing this. This is not a topic to just discuss. It's not take affirmative action to make change in any way we can. And that's what it comes down to, is how do you apply the actions that's necessary to take a step forward to the change you desire. So if we know it as individuals, we all have to do our part, but we must pull together to understand what it takes to do that, to educate ourselves and to get us in a position that we can see change. So this is what Achromous is offering to everyone. But as of right now, we're speaking to our community because we have to get better. We have to break cycles. And I speak that not as Will C. I speak as William, as a father with children, and what I'm trying to do. Because I have to prepare my kids for what's out there. So if anyone is out there, the parents or someone you care about that's young or you love, niece, nephew, whatever the case may be, think of it that way. Break a cycle, because it has to end with us. So I take this personally, just as Jay does as well.
Absolutely.
And I hope that whomever is listening to this, you feel this, because do you desire change in the world to be better than when it's your time to leave it? That's the impact we make, people. The legacy we leave behind are those things, which is why it's imperative to do the work, because we got to leave the world in a better position than we found it.
Absolutely.
And that's it, Jay. Absolutely. That's all I have to say.
I mean, that's perfectly said. That's our duty here. As people in the society, it's to build the society for the generations to come so that they may have it easier than we had. And I mean, if you look at the past, that's exactly what they did, right? There are people who literally lost their life fighting for what we have now. Why would we want to use that and not use it? Rather, why would we want to squander those opportunities that we have? Why would we want to push those opportunities aside, especially if they're sitting right in front of us? So this isn't an attack on Black people. This isn't an attack on anybody. This is a challenge to step up. This is a challenge to keep pushing. This is a challenge to hold yourself accountable, hold your friends accountable, hold your family members accountable. If you see people doing worse or making bad decisions, step up. Be that loving person that you are, and say, yo, hey, we got to do better here. What's going on here? Where do you want to go in life? Who do you want to be? Why are you wasting your time on this? Like, those are the type of questions, those are the type of challenges that we need to be asking each other, ourselves, because that is the only way for growth. That is the only way. We can't sit here and continue to have the perception that we're looking for handouts, or that this is all because of the white man, or it's because of something else that has been plaguing us for years. We have to step up. The opportunity is now, man. Like, especially because this information it's in our hands. This is a handheld computer that you can take anywhere. You can learn anything instantly. I've seen people start learning how to play the guitar. Perfect example right there, right?
Working on it now.
You know what I'm saying? The guitar, learning different languages, like all of these things,
working on it.
All of these things they're just a fingertip away. All you have to do is be able to reach out to that, to understand that you're holding yourself accountable, understand that you want to continue to grow, and you have to know exactly where you're going. Um, because again, I mean, we're only here for a little while, man. Like all of us are only here for maybe 100 years tops. So while we are here, it's important for us to build the society and mold the society for the legacy that we're going to leave behind once we're gone, so that they can learn, they can take those things that we have done great in, those things that we've done bad in, and learn from the mistakes that we've made to be able to create a better life for their children, and so on and so forth. So it is vital. It is vital for us that we accept this challenge to be better in our community. That we accept this challenge to hold ourselves accountable, hold others accountable in order for us to change the perception that black people have in America.
Agree, Jay. I think that's well said. I mean, I think at this point, we've definitely touched on what we needed to touch on within our community. So
Yep.
I think it's safe for us to open it up to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, allow everyone to, send us a story of a time you overcome adversity. Albeit your race, or experiences of what you've been through, and even instances of overcoming those adversities and achieving a successful outcome of like what that was for you,
Yep.
where you learned something from it, an experience of an encounter, of any kind related to those what we're discussing.
Yep.
Please, we would love for you to share that with us. Send us DMs. Please place a comment, and let us know your experiences as well, because this is how we grow as a community. And again, it starts with an individual, but once you understand your purpose and you understand what are you fighting for, then it's gravitates you towards understanding the importance of a community
Hmm.
and why we're here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a purpose, know where you're going, know what you're doing. As long as you have a destination and you push yourself accordingly to get there, then there's absolutely no reason why you can't achieve it. And that's what we want for all people, not just our community, but all people who are continuously pushing. We want those people to get to a point where they're making strives in life, and they are being able to get that type of success that we're getting. So again, y'all, look, before we go, this was a tough topic. And I'm glad you've listened all the way through to hear what we have to say from our based on our own experiences, and what we have seen in our community, what we've experienced in our community. I think it's important that this conversation is had, and I'm sure we'll come back, we'll revisit this topic again, because it's nothing that's going to go away. It's a difficult thing to push through, and it'll take time. But as long as we start with day one, as long as we start with step one, we become 1% better than we were before. Eventually, we'll get to that point. But for next week's topic, for next Sunday's topic, what we're going to be looking at is understanding how to build a network to achieve your goals. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about today, right? Like how exactly am I going to be able to sort of change my perception and leave where I am, but I don't have the tools around me. I don't necessarily have the people around me. My circle is full of people who aren't necessarily going anywhere. I'm probably the smartest in my circle. All of those sort of things that you may be going through. We are going to teach you exactly how to build your network around you in order to achieve your goals, because you cannot do it yourself. You can't. It takes a village. It takes a community around you. It takes people holding you accountable. It takes yourself holding yourself accountable. But Sunday, yeah, it's this is again something that you really want to hear, especially those who are struggling to get out of a spot that you're in, whether it's in business or it's just your personal life. Maybe you're looking for a mentor. Maybe you're looking for people who could hold you accountable. Maybe you're looking for someone just to hear you out. Any one of those things, any one of those things would be great for you to listen to for next week. So again, we want to thank you for joining us. If you are new to us, this is then we will accept it only this time, because there's no other reason why you should not know the Achromous name by now. It is
Tell
on
them,
our
Jay.
hats. It is everywhere.
How can they find us?
Achromous is exactly how you can find us. And man, anywhere, everywhere you can find us. And until next time, I'm Jamal Gibbons.
And then we'll see.
Peace.
Peace.